How is it going out there, everybody? This is Speedboy14. In this episode, I'm going to present my top 10 hardest Super Mario Galaxy stars. I've done videos like this before, I'm just doing an updated version of it. Just for a fair warning, I didn't find this game to be very challenging. So if some of these stars have their easy moments, that means they really do have their easy moments. So if you guys can give me a favor and drop a like on this video, I'd really appreciate that big time. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to click that subscribe button and click on the bell right beside it to be notified every time my new videos come out. Exciting feature of the channel, you can request your favorite star, or your favorite galaxy, or your favorite dome in the game in the comments below. And we're going to get to the top 10 hardest stars in Super Mario Galaxy. So without further ado, let's go! Alright, so number 10 on my list has to be Purple Coins on the Summit, which is the Purple Coin mission of Freeze Flame Galaxy. I really didn't find the Purple Coin missions to be all that difficult, so you probably won't see a whole lot of Purple Coin missions on the list. So, number 10 on this list has to be Purple Coins on the Summit. The reason why I put it at number 10 is because it's not really all that difficult of a mission if you know what to do, but some of the Purple Coins are kind of hidden. Like, you gotta know where they're at in order to do it. But thankfully, the first section has purple coins out in the open. But when you get to later sections of the level, that's when they're in more complicated sections, and that's when they're hidden and stuff. But thankfully, they give you an ice flower right here, which is nice. And thankfully, you can go this way to get double HP, which will make it easier. And you have to go in complicated sections to find purple coins. That's what can be challenging about it. But if you know what you're doing, it's not too bad with some practice. But if you try to speedrun this mission, it's unbelievably difficult. This purple coin right here is a high purple coin. You have to wait for the ice flower to run out so you can backflip at the right timing to get it. And that purple coin's a little tricky to get too. You have to kind of do that. The nice thing about this game is that when you get hit and you collect coins, you can regain your health by collecting coins. So at least that's nice. But the more sections you go to, the more purple coins you... So in this section, you have purple coins you have to collect. And if you die at any point, you have to start from the very beginning. That's the reason why I put it at number 10 on this list. But thankfully, this part, they give you the fire flower so you can use it to defeat these snowmen that might contain like a launch star or something. The easiest way to do this part is to do some backflipping, which sounds simple enough. But you have to be quick to go over here in order to use the fire flower to melt the snowman. If you're not quick enough, you have to re-get the fire flower. And if you miss purple coins, you have to backtrack and get some. Thankfully, you can backtrack, making this not a super difficult mission, but still a mission that can be annoying if you don't know how to do it. And if you fall off, it's game over. That's all I'm gonna say about this mission, so now we're gonna move on. Number 9 on my list has to be Through the Meteor Storm, which is the second star of Melty Molten Galaxy. Why it's number 9 on my list? You have meteors falling from the sky. It's a fun level to play, definitely because of how beautiful it is and the graphics and stuff. It's really fun to play. But the reason why it's number 9 on my list of top 10 hardest stars is because of the meteors. And you have to really be careful to watch out for the meteors, because you can get hit by them very easily if you don't know where they're coming from. But the good news is that they move in predictable patterns, so they are easy to predict. And once you know the pattern, you can anticipate them every time. So that's pretty good. But you have to use that fire bastard to light these 2 torches to unlock the path to the next area. In this part, you have to watch out for the thwomps. If you get crushed by a thwomp, it's instant death. And you have to watch out for the meteors falling down as well. And one mess up and you are toast. And you have to really pay attention to what's going on to even dodge the meteors. This next section is pretty simple coming up, because all you have to do in this section is just collect. It's just you just have to do this, which is by getting you can get a double HP here, which will make the rest of it a lot easier. And you just have to dodge these meteors at the same time as collecting the star chips. But thankfully, it's pretty self-explanatory what to do, although you can get hit easily and fall into lava easy. But once you get a launch star here, here's where it gets really fun. What you gotta do here is you get beautiful views of like lava and the pink sky. So you have beautiful scenery in this level. Like, it looks awesome. So this part's one of my favorite parts. This part's not as hard as the parts we just did, or the part that we will talk about after that. But you have to. But the tricky part is aiming a bullet bill towards where you need to aim it to. Can be a little tricky, but not too hard. But once you aim it here, you have to go inside the launch star and use the launch star to blast off to the final section of the level. This section is the reason why it's number 9 on my list, because of this star ball, and it requires motion controls to steer it. That means if you're playing on the Wii, you have to tilt the Wii remote, or if you're playing on Super Mario 3D All-Stars on your Switch, you tilt your Switch controller, or Joy-Con, or whatever controller you're using to play your Switch. And here's the part where you have to go fast. And you have to really time your jumps precisely, like, you have to be patient right here, just wait for it to come. Go here, time your jump, and then time your jump. And then there you can get your star. Excuse me. And that's all I have to say about this level, so now we're going to move on. Alright, so number 8 on my list has to be Battle Station's Purple Coins, which is the Purple Coin mission of Dreadnought Galaxy. Why I put this at number 8 on the list? Because of the gravity stuff that can really mess you up. I get if you know what to do, it's not that hard, but if you don't know what to do, it can be very difficult. That's why I had to put it at number 8 on the list. The reason I'm putting it this low on the list, because for me it's not too hard. But if you don't know what you're doing, it will be very difficult. So it's a pretty slow-paced level, and you do have to go along with the flow. If you miss a single purple coin, you cannot backtrack. And that's what's irritating about it. I get it moves slow, so it's easy to collect purple coins in some parts. When the gravity goes upside down, it's not much harder than being right side up. I understand that, but you'll see some harder parts of it later. This part, you have to be quick at getting these 3 purple coins that are on top of that thwomp. And right here is the section that you have to do this. Collecting this purple coin, collecting this one, riding the sideways platform is the hardest part because it can be more difficult to see what you need to do. And then once you get the hang of it, it's not really that bad. The difficult part is figuring out the gravity mechanics stuff about it. But once you come to the end, you get a breather right here because this part is super easy. So you just have to collect these purple coins here. Then you have to go here. Go inside this launch star, and then you'll collect your final purple coin naturally. And then you'll have your power star. That's all I'm going to say about this mission. Now we're going to move on. Alright, so number 7 on my list has to be Star Bunnies in the Snow, which is the only star in the snow-capped galaxy. The reason this is number 7 on my list is you'll see why in just a second. Because you have... It's because you have a time limit to do a certain thing that you'll need to do in the level. Because you'll have to chase all 3 bunny rabbits in a time limit. And they're hidden. And they disappear. And you have the snow that slows you down. You can use your cursor to make it easier to go through the snow, but at the same time, it does make it tricky. So, and you have to really look hard to find them. But if you know where they're at, it's not that bad with some practice. But as long as you, but if you don't know what you're doing, it can be confusing. But if you hit all these blue switches and you turn them green, and you turn them yellow to make it finally turn green, you can get a fire flower and you can melt these 2 snowmen. One of them has a bunny, the other one has a green shell, and you need to use the green shell to open this treasure chest, which will have the final bunny. And you need to catch all 3 before the timer runs out, and the snow will slow you down. And that's what's irritating about this. If you're playing this on your first time, it can be frustrating to try to figure out in order to try to beat it because of how the snow slows you down. But the good news is, with a little bit of practice, it'll become a lot easier because you'll eventually just memorize what to do and then it becomes a piece of cake after that. And that's really all I have to say about this level, so now we're going to move on. Number 6 on my list has to be Gizmos, Gears, and Gadgets, the one and only star in the Rolling Gizmo Galaxy. This is the hardest of the motion control levels in the game, or it's the hardest of the Star Ball levels in the game, so why it's number 6 on my list, you'll see why. This is a pretty challenging obstacle course because of where you need to tilt your Wii remote if you're playing on the Wii, or controller if you're playing on Super Mario 3D All-Stars. And this is a narrow path you have to go to get over here. Then you have to break these 2 things like this. And then you have to lower this bridge by bumping into it. And then you have to break open this. And then this will blast you off over here. And then you have to be very precise and careful with your movement. And if you're not paying attention, you'll fall off and die. And that's easier said than done. And you have to go through here and get past that part before that big dice pushes you off. And you have to watch out for the bob-bombs here. And they can bump you off easy. Then you have to go this way, ride this. And then once you get done riding that, you'll get to this final section, which is probably the hardest section of the level. But it's definitely the most annoying section of the level. So you have to wait until the gear gets over here, go over here, get on this one, ride this one up, and then just make it to the finish, just like that. And that's really all I have to say about this level, so now we're going to move on. Alright, number 5 on my list has to be Luigi's Purple Coins, which is the Purple Coin mission of Toy Time Galaxy. Why it's number 5 on my list? You'll see why. A lot of people consider this to be the hardest star in the game, but I'm only putting it at number 5, because for me, it's just not as hard as what my top 4 are. And why I put it this high was because you walk across some disappearing platforms like this, and you have to collect these purple coins. And then you have flipping platforms and disappearing platforms. And then you have some purple coins, and you have to collect 100 out of, I think, 150 purple coins, if I'm not mistaken. But you need to collect at least 100. And you have a time limit to do it. And you have, I think, about 3 minutes of a time limit to do it. If I'm not mistaken, I wasn't paying attention to the timer. And if you die at any point, you have to start over and collect all the purple coins, and then collect the purple coins from the beginning. And you just have to keep collecting these purple coins. But if you know the path, you can get through it without any trouble at all. There we go! And you have to be precise with your jumps too, because it's best to save platforms for later. Because when you get the final star unlocked, you'll need to have some platforms available in order to use to get it when you have the actual star unlocked. And you have to be very careful about it. And this can take a lot of practice, because if you're not careful, you'll die. And once that star appears, you'll feel rewarding once you get the star. That's all I'm going to say about this level. Now we'll get down to my top 4. Number 4 on my list has to be Dreadnought's Garbage Dump, which is the secret star of Dreadnought Galaxy. You'll see why this is number 4 on the list. And you'll see why it made it to my top 4. Because you play the 3rd star of Dreadnought Galaxy, and then you go on the bottom of this actual planet, which actually looks like a UFO, which is a UFO planet, in order to go inside this pipe down here. And this will take you to where you need to be. And then you have to blow up all these trash, and you have a time limit to do it. You have a 30-second time limit to do it. And that's what makes it hard. But I have a good strategy here. If you know, just know the pattern of this, and then you'll be able to do it without much trouble. But even still, it can still be a little tricky because it's still easy to mess up. Because one mess up and you are done, and you have to start over. That's what's really irritating about this. Because if the time runs out, you have to try again. Thankfully, you get unlimited tries, so you can keep practicing. but you have to know the pattern about where to throw the bombs, and you can't make any mistakes. So that's why I put it this high on the list. And if you time it just right, you'll barely do it with like 1 second left, or maybe even 2 seconds left if you're really fast. And then that means this gizmo, it means that gizmo, wherever that guy's name is, will give you a power star. And that's all I have to say about this level. Now we'll be down to our top 3. Alright, so number 3 on my list has to be the Electric Labyrinth, which is the one and only star Bubble Blast Galaxy has. Why it's this high on the list? You'll see why. Because you have, because you're in this bubble and you have to use the pointer controls to blow and to press A to blow on the bubble to move Mario around. And if you hit the electricity at any point, your bubble will pop and you will fall to your death. And there's some obstacles you need to watch out for. The strategy might seem simple because all you have to do is going off the 5 pipes to get the 5 star chips, but the difficult part is avoiding the obstacles. But if you know what to do, at least this first part is not as hard as the part coming up. But you have to be very careful, because one mess up and you are toast. And that's probably the hardest section of the first section, is going through that part right there. And then there's a lot you have to watch out for. You have to watch out for fire right there. So if you go too fast, you will die right there. So you have to be patient. Because if you go too early, that will get you and you will die. But thankfully, they all move in predictable patterns, so you can learn the pattern, but it might take a little bit. This part you have to watch out for electric stuff, like these electric balls. Which thankfully it's not as hard as some of the other sections. But you still have to make it all the way through once you collect all the star chips. And then just do that, and then go to the Sling Star to launch over to the Launch Star, and use the Launch Star to launch over to the next section. And the hard parts are not over just yet. Because once you get here, you have to be fast, because if not, a bullet bill will come from behind and pop your bubble. And that will cause you to fall to your death. So you have to know the path ahead of time. But thankfully it's predictable and it moves in a predictable pattern. So it is easy to learn the pattern, but if you don't know the pattern, this will be insanely hard. Because you have to know when the bullet bills are coming in order to do this easily. And that's all I have to say about this level. Now we're down to our top 2. Alright, so number 2 on my list has to be Lava Spire Daredevil Run. Lava Spire isn't really that difficult of a start. It's the Daredevil Run that's hard. The main reason this is very difficult when I had to put it this high is because if you get hit once, you die. And you have no checkpoints, and it's a fairly long level. It's not the longest level ever, but it's at least fairly long. And if you get hit once, just like this, you're toast. But the good news is that at least everything moves in a predictable pattern, and you can at least know the pattern of these guys. But you have to play it safe. You can't even afford to do anything risky, because you might take a chance of getting hit, and then you see that number 1 on your health bar making you feel more paranoid about dying, and the more paranoid you are, the more likely you are to mess up. But one of the only reasons it's not number 1 is because at least all the enemies move in a predictable pattern. And at least everything moves in a predictable pattern, making it easy to learn the pattern. But the difficult part is doing it without taking a single hit, which can be difficult for a beginner gamer. And this intense music tells you it's going to be hard. So that first section wasn't really that difficult of a section. You just have to know what to do. And this section right here is the part where you have to use the pull stars to go right here. And you have to watch out for those fire balls or lava balls or whatever they're called. And watch out for these fireballs right there. And then just use the pull stars, and you have to be patient and take your time. If you go too fast right there, you will die. And then the hard parts are not over just yet, because you have to use the launch star to get over here. Use this launch star to get over to the next section. And you have to collect some star chips over here to create a launch star. And watch out for the fire bastards. You can spin attack when you're close to them to make them to put out the fire and then run into them, or you can shoot a star bed at them to put out the fire and then run into them. Whichever way is easier for you. And that at least makes it easier to do this part. And once you collect the star chips, you have the launch star that will take you to the final section. And then this section you have to do things precisely in order to not get hit. In this section, the lava is rising, so you have to run quick. And if you take a hit, you'll die, and then you go back to the very beginning, because there's no checkpoints in this level. So you can't really hesitate. You have to ground pound that for this to go down, but you have to be fast enough that the lava don't rise while you're doing it. Or at least that it don't rise too high, since the lava is rising. And you have to be very careful right here. And once you make it to the top, you can feel rewarded that you finally got this star. And now we'll talk about the hardest star of Super Mario Galaxy, so here we go! Alright, so number 1 on my list has to be Purple Coins in the Bone Pen, which is the Purple Coin mission of Ghostly Galaxy. You want to know why it's the hardest star in the game, in my opinion? Because you have to collect at least 100 of the purple coins, and you have 1 minute to do this. which sounds insane. And this is a good challenge for this game, since most of the stars are not really that difficult. But at least this star will test your skills. Because you have 1 minute to collect at least 100 coins. And there's 60 seconds in a minute. And if you be careful about going between these two bones that have the meat. You have to be very careful about this. Because if you're not careful, you will die. And then the time will run. If you're not careful, you will bump into those and make it harder and make yourself out of control. And if time runs out on you, you die. And if you die, you have to start over from the beginning. And that was it. That was my top 10 hardest stars in Super Mario Galaxy. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Alright guys, that was it. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed, don't forget to drop a like. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to click that subscribe button and click on the bell right beside it to be notified every time my new videos come out. And let me know down in the comments below, what do you think is the hardest Super Mario Galaxy star and why? I would love to know. And have a wonderful day. Peace, Republic of Speed Boy.